We basically started, Jenn's daughter was actually playing in the leagues, the Japanese American basketball leagues. We were talking about doing some type of film. And if I'd known about it, and my husband and his whole family grew up playing in those leagues. So we started the concept of the film, looking at it from this historical point, like just looking at what kind of films have been made that talk about these leagues and show these leagues. And where we brought in the high school part was that we wanted to show a contemporary story to nest the history within. And so we wanted to find a story of someone who had grown up in the leagues or was actively in the leagues. What would that look like? And so we interviewed a lot of different people. And jamiekiyomurachan, who's the coach, she coached one of my husband's cousins.
Mm,
And so she was one of our interviews. And when we met with her, she told us about Ashley. She told us about her team, which at that time, Flint Ridge Prep also had this amazing, run of wins. And then we, dug a little deeper about Ashley, and it just felt like this really interesting story that was happening right then. Like Ashley was, at that point a freshman. She was starting to get offers. She's Cambodian American, second generation. Just there were so many interesting elements that
mm,
we just dove in.
Yeah, I think initially we were intrigued by the fact that Jamie had not only coached Jamie Hagia, right, who had done so incredibly well at USC,
mhm.
um, but she was at the same time coaching Caitlin Chen, right, who recently won, it's the first one to win an NCAA, championship, and Taiwanese, I suppose, Ashley Chea. So we had sat down. I think our first interview was with Ashley and Caitlin sitting together, and it would be really nice to find that, Erica, actually, like,
Mm.
them just sitting on the couch, just goofing off with each other. And we're like, this is just a beautiful moment, I think, for Asian American women in sports. And then
Mm,
as we did some more archival searching, there's a lot of a lot of women, Asian women,
mhm.
especially Japanese American women, throughout, the 20th century, starting from the 1930s. And we show that in the film, these pictures and videos of young women playing basketball, which is just mind-blowing because as a teenager, Asian teenager growing up in Southern California, there wasn't actually in Utah. I mostly grew up in Utah. There wasn't any possibility. As someone who loves sports, who loved basketball, I was discouraged from playing. And
Mm,
so I think the motivation of the film was from my from personal experience of me and my and other Asian American friends who felt like there just wasn't an opportunity
mhm.
to do what we love because we didn't look the part. We didn't look like we belonged on a basketball court or any sport outside of maybe figure skating because there was these Michelle Kwan and
Right,
Christy Yamaguchi, right? Were incredible heroes to us, right? But they had to struggle to prove that they
right.
belong on the ice.
Mm,
That's an interesting question. No one's really asked us that. To be honest, we didn't spend, like, there wasn't that much time
right.
spent looking. Oh, it was July 20, it was 2020. So I would say once we started down the idea of like, okay, we want to look at the history of Asian American basketball, let's find a contemporary story.
Mm,
We were looking at different stories within the JA leagues, like North-South tournaments, other teams, and we were interviewing a few people. But honestly, we found Jamie pretty early on, almost like a month in or 2 months into the research. Um, and once she sort of told us, because she was someone who was also sharing a lot of people. So she was someone who was kind of like, she didn't expect that she would be one of the people in the film. She was more like, here's an interesting story, here's an interesting story. And when she mentioned Ashley, that just kind of, we just went down that rabbit hole. So it all sort of happened very organically. In many ways, this film was just meant to be. Like everything was just so kind of divinely led, and so sort of once we went there, it was just like, oh yep, doors opened, and that's sort of we just went through those doors. Because we made it pretty quickly for a documentary. It was 3.5 years of following her, but we edited in that last year. So the end in 4 years. That's also a great question. I mean, they weren't really practicing together. They had to sort of do their own practices. Jamie would meet with a few of them outside, but I think it's also a good indication and reason why Ashley, when she came out her first season after COVID in sophomore year, she tore her ALC or ACL. I always get that.
Yeah.
It's because of that, most likely. And so I think what we did was we got a camera actually, and we sent Ashley a camera, and basically during that time I would ask her a bunch of questions, and then she would just make these little videos. We called them Ashley Diaries, and she would just muse about her life and herself and various things. And in the end, that was kind of the whole first year. And the getting into the gym was extremely, challenging during COVID. Like actually the game that Ashley hurt herself, we had filmmakers outside, but they wouldn't let them in because it was like one parent from every kid, and it was like the numbers thing. So we weren't able to actually even film that. That's why the camera is kind of like that high camera in the film. But yeah, it was complicated, and I would say that through those video diaries, we were able to build a closer connection. And then once junior year hit, we were able to sort of really be in person with her a lot more.
Right.
A real bummer. Yeah, no, she was really sad, really, really sad about it. But in the film, Jamie, I think through the support of Jamie, the coach, Jamie has a great line in there. It's like, okay, you have one day to be sad about it, and then tomorrow we get back to training, just focus on healing. Right. And I think that is a marker of a very good mentor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to her, she sees this as like a life vocation. Like she doesn't do this for the money. She does this to mentor young girls. That's just always been her MO. And the way she treats Ashley is how she treats every other player she has. So she comes at it, I think when Jenn and I first met her, it's like, he is so authentic and so real and so much like the real deal, doing this for the goodness of them and supporting everyone through that. And there isn't this like selfish pull, that I think sometimes you can see. I think a lot of people, we've been told like they appreciate the story because it's the story of a good coach that wins. Because so often you have coaches that are, berating on the kids and yelling, and it's just a very different kind of dynamic. And it's a lot more of an old school traditional, honestly, it's very like, I think male centered, that kind of behavior, where I think Jamie comes at this from a very feminine, motherly way. And she's hard on Ashley. She expects a lot from Ashley, but she also has a lot of grace. And Ashley knows that. So I mean, even down to the film, like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Jamie. I mean, we approached Jamie told us about Ashley, and then Jamie made the connection, and then the parents and Ashley trusted Jamie, and we trusted Jamie, and we trusted obviously Ashley, and it just became, this big trust fall, I think, on for all of us. But I know Jamie carried that weight of fear just in case, like, what if this isn't what I signed up for? Or what if this hurts? There was always that kind of in the back of her mind. But she's so strong and powerful and had this deep knowing that this was the right thing. And she was right. I mean, it ended up, it all is exactly what it's supposed to be. And we are where we are. But yeah, she carries a lot on top of managing full-time work and 3 children, and she's a wife and, all of the things. She's kind of like a sub-cute, like, I don't know where all of her power comes from. I would just
Mm.
marvel sitting with her. We'd have like day in the life of Jamie. I'd like follow her along there were a few days, so I would just follow her along from the, morning, 6 a.m., wake up until the evening. And it's just was to operate on 4 hours of sleep. I think marvel, I would marvel at her. I think that is the best adjective you could use.
Such a great communicator. And it's all led by her heart. It's all heart led.
I think we really wanted to give context to the current contemporary, stories that we were showing,
Mhm.
so people could understand the depth of history of where people came from. And I think especially with Ashley, for instance, who is second generation, her parents, just came out of the, Khmer Rouge, grandmother survived the Khmer Rouge. That DNA is inside of her, and yet she wasn't really aware of what actually had happened to her family. And so I think in like a lot of, ongoing conversations I would have with her, and there would be kind of this sadness sometimes, or she would feel things or frustration or whatever. And I think sometimes it's like we talk about intergenerational trauma, and yet, of course, where she's at, it's not really a conversation that we would, that she would kind of talk about on her own. But you could see it. There
Mm.
was kind of this undercurrent. And so that was sort of what we wanted to do, was sort of just show this history and the fierceness of the women that came before her, and her
Right.
grandmother, who was running away from bullets and survived, and just the sheer miracle is who she is and where she is right now.
Right.
And similar with the Japanese Americans, I think it's a different story, but it's
Mhm.
also one that's truly an American story of discrimination.
Mm.
That also, I think what we loved about that story is showing, look at the community and what came out of this, like, light that came out of this very dark time. And this is what resilience is. This is what resistance is. And
Mm.
especially now in this contemporary time, these are the stories that we have to hold on to and pay attention to, and
Mhm.
really understand that this is an American story and it will continue to repeat.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's a good question too, because we had challenges all the time. Every filmmaking, there always
Right.
was challenge. But Jen and I, we started this film from a really aligned place. And I have to say that I think as filmmakers was the glue that held the entire thing together, to where we're here on the other side with so much love and gratitude. And I think a lot of that is a testament to like how we started, which was, we're making a film that we want a lot of people to see, that has this sort of commercial ideal, but also resonates deeply with people and that people can learn from. And we're going to do that with through the circle of trust and respect. And we are going to start by the way we treat each other,
Mm.
and then how we treat our, the people in our film, and all of that around. There's that kind of was our first paramount sort of North Star. And I used to say in the beginning, I remember saying, if we have in the end a good film, I'm happy. As long as we're all good and we have a good film, like, we've succeeded. And I think we have a remarkable film. And we also have a team that has really held, I think, a space of, I guess, like, community and love and respect.
Right.
This is getting closer to the 20 minutes, so this will be the last question. So where the Ashley is now, she went into the Princeton now, she's actually still doing the basketball. So where she is now, she's also looking to the higher level, like such as like NBA. What are the situation right now with her?
She is so happy. I don't think she's necessarily, I don't know if she's thinking, she for a long time was saying no to going pro because of money, you know, because players weren't being paid that much. But
Right.
the really interesting thing, and why this film is so timely, is that a lot has changed and is changing every year for female athletes, especially in basketball. So, you know, I think she's a star player at Princeton right now.
Oh, really?
She's leading the team as a sophomore.
Right, really.
And she's just, her work ethic, all of that is still just like incredibly strong and powerful. And it's really fun. I mean, I think just in the past few weeks, as Home Court went onto PBS, you could
Right.
literally watch, it was like you could watch Home Court and you could watch her on ESPN, you
Yes.
know? Like it's just,
That's
I
great.
think that you get to sort of see the players continue to live their lives.